Greetings, friends. Welcome to MagnifEssence in Motion. My name is David McLeod. I am your life mastery coach. And today, our topic title, this is episode number 36. And our topic title today is the sublime power of co-creation. Have you ever felt like you're just reacting to life instead of actively designing it? You know that feeling. Waking up, checking the to-do list, and hoping the universe throws you a bone. But what if you're not just a passenger on this ride? What if you're the actual architect of your reality? Well, that's the juicy territory we're going to be diving into today. And I'm thrilled to welcome back my dear friend and colleague, Linda Marsanico. She's an author, blogger, teacher, and spiritual coach who writes about love, compassion, playfulness, visualization, meditation, and stillness as a road to a joy-filled life. She encourages clients to develop the muscle of meditation and mantra as a support for a disciplined mind. Her recently published book, The A Train to Sedona, which I have somewhere here in my home, but I couldn't find it today, is a great book, by the way. She describes her journey toward love, compassion, and enlightenment, sharing vignettes and strategies, her successes and failures in a way that is funny, serious, and always informative. So please join me in welcoming Linda Marsanico to the program. Welcome, Linda. Thank you for working through the technical issues that we had and dealing with your naughty Yeti and getting us to a place where we can talk today. I'm delighted to have you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me, David.
Yeah, you and I crossed paths, I think it's got to be 3 or 4 years ago by now.
I think so.
Maybe even a little bit longer than that. And I don't remember exactly the circumstances where we met, but I do remember, your book came out, The A Train to Sedona, and I remember grabbing a copy of that and having you on I think it was Life Mastery TV at the time. You were on that program a couple of times. And we talked about that book. We talked about a lot of other things. I've been on your program. It's been absolutely fabulous. And
yes.
Yeah. Anybody who doesn't have that book, go to Amazon right now and grab a copy because it's worth your read, believe me.
Thank you so much, David. We met on Jared Rosen's masterclass. And
that's right. Yeah.
You texted me and you spoke to me. I'd like you to talk about whatever the topic was. Would you like to appear on my podcast? Yes, I said. And so it must be over 3 years ago that we first met.
Right. Yeah. And so we've had a few other exchanges over the time, and now I'm working on my book, and you've agreed to be on my launch team, which is pretty awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So, all right, I've kind of teased people a little bit about your book, The A Train to Sedona. Why don't you maybe go into a little bit more detail about what that's all about and why you decided to write it and how it has become a staple within your life and in your work now?
Well, right after 9/11, I felt bereft and in need of being with a larger group. And I joined the Park Slope Food Co-op because I wanted that from them. Also, I was in the process of joining a spiritual group. And I met with the spiritual group weekly and learned so much. The people in the group were talking about things I had no clue about. I was speaking sort of Italian, they were speaking Spanish. So I read voraciously. And I was getting healings from the coach. She is a clairvoyant healer. So every 3 weeks or so, with the group meetings, I had an experience that I wanted to share. And so I thought, let me write a book. And I wrote the book to share my failings, as I mentioned in the bio that I gave to you, my successes, my journey. My journey has taken a very long time. And I thought, let me make it easier for people. They could take the express train. The A train in New York City is the express train. I meandered on the sea line. Right. And so I wrote the book, and it's been a wonderful process of learning about myself. Also, I had written the book, I started it in 2010, and I edited it so many different times, and I couldn't find a publisher. So I met Jared Rosen, who is known as the Book Whisperer, And he worked with me. He didn't ghostwrite the book. He just said, Linda, tell stories. Bring your listeners in through your stories. And I must say, it was a very challenging event. Sitting in my living room at my computer, re editing again and again. And I had one favorite story in the book. I was living in a condo with 3 families, and the people on the top floor became pregnant. And they put their carriage right in front of my apartment door, which I found intolerable. I spoke to them. I spoke to the husband separately, the wife separately. They wouldn't budge. So every time I opened my apartment door, 3 feet ahead of me was this carriage. Now, looking back, instead of being angry, I could have said, let me help you with the carriage. Let me put it here. Because they could have put it on a 5 steps up on a landing or in the vestibule, but I didn't. I was too angry.
Right.
So I think an angel whispered in my ear, and I thought, I am a bodhisattva, which is the saying, I'm on the road to enlightenment. And we're all on the road to enlightenment. But I said the phrase again and again. I would open my door and say, I am a bodhisattva, I am a bodhisattva. I would come in from my office, I am a bodhisattva, again and again and again. And they moved the carriage, David.
Yeah, right.
They moved the carriage, and my interpretation is that they felt the loving energy and just listened to my request. Now, after that, we became friendly. We forgave each other, and they soon moved. But it's just a lovely story about the power of the love vibration that we feel, whether it's conscious or unconscious. We feel that energy.
Right. Yeah, that's beautiful. And so, first of all, I wanted to say, yeah, Jared is a great resource for helping you to find the truth and maybe get over a little bit of fear about sharing stories. He was actually the publisher for my very first book, the A Life to Die For, and so I got a lot out of that experience for sure. So I resonate with a lot of what you're saying. And I think I had the same. Well, maybe this is not exactly what you're saying, but I noticed when I was thinking about writing a book, the idea of sharing stories about my life somehow seemed a little narcissistic. That's how it landed on me, and then I started paying attention to other people and to good speakers. I went to what's it called, Toastmasters, and I learned more about public speaking and how they taught about telling stories.
Yes.
If you really want to touch people, make it personal. And one of my greatest teachers, his name was Sean Stevenson. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he was a man who was stuck in a wheelchair because he was only like 2.5 feet tall. He had this problem of his bones breaking very easily and all that kind of stuff. And but he was a brilliant speaker. And one of the things he taught was the more personal you make it, the more universal its appeal. And I've always remembered that now. And I now have come to realize, oh, I see, what people really want from me is the deepest truth. Yeah. The story in here. And so that's what I've been working on doing over the last, I don't know, maybe 10 years now. Writing those stories and trying to make them as interesting as possible, even if they're really, really simple. Yes. There's no major life-threatening situation happening or anything like that. Every story has the nugget of a gift within it.
Yes.
And anyway, so thank you for sharing that, and thank you for writing the book.
Thank you, David. In reading your book, because I'm preparing a testimonial, a review, I am struck by the honesty and authenticity of your writing.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Well, I got over the whole narcissistic thing, and I started, and got over myself really. And I said, I've had life experiences. Everybody has life experiences. And maybe my life experience can help someone else to learn something.
Yes.
I don't know if it will or not. I mean, it's going to resonate for some people and it won't resonate for others. We just have to show up as who we really are. That's my belief. And
And
that's my teaching now. There's nothing more important than knowing, expressing, experiencing the full truth of who you really are.
And I believe that our purpose in coming in, one of the purposes anyway, an important one, is to heal ourselves. And in the process of healing, we need to go back to childhood, go back to, well, other lifetimes or happenings at the same time, to understand the truth and to heal what needs to be healed, to acknowledge, to experience the grief, the pain, so that we can remove the distractions from our ability to co-create. Because when we're co-creating, David, we are partnering with the most powerful force in the universe.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And you said something else earlier that I just wanted to bring to loop around to again. You talked about maybe my experience can help someone learn something more quickly than I did. And I have exactly that same thought in my mind. And, I'm 73 years old now. And I think, man, what if I had learned this stuff back when I was in my 20s? How would my life have been different? And then I remind myself, yeah, and my parents tried to tell me, my other adults in my life tried to tell me, all these other people tried to tell me, and I still had to do it my own way. So I guess I think we're all going to have to do it our own way on some level.
Absolutely. And we have to be ready. And it takes a conscious effort to be on the path. And one of the tips in my book is to be consciously on the path, to have that intention. I'm on this path. There are going to be bumps on the road, and yet I'm here and I'm not alone. I have, it's been said recently, a committee of spirits helping me. When I'm quiet, I can hear the voice of Creator. And so this lifetime can be an adventure. If I look upon it as an adventure, it casts it in a different light.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do little kids do? When they're in their very, very early infancy, just learning to walk, learning to talk, learning to, to do anything. For them, all of life is an adventure. They are supremely curious.
Yes.
And yet we seem to lose that as we get older, don't we? And I think you're absolutely right. If we could reconnect to that sense of adventure, that sense of curiosity that's born with us, our lives would be a whole lot different.
As I work through the issues from all of my lifetimes, from the issues from this lifetime, dealing with grief, anger, regret, all the feelings that are part of the ego. As I acknowledge and heal and let them go, I'm able to connect with that silly girl within, the child who's curious. It's a wonderful feeling to get up and say, I'm excited for this morning. I don't know what the day is going to bring, but it's going to be an adventure. And I speak to God all the time. My prayer is, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Would you tell me about this? And it's in the quiet, David. I want to read a quote from Anne Lordifee. She's a Canadian woman. She's an author, a very supreme singer. She was given the Order of Canada. And in her book, In Love with the Mystery, she says, quote, when you dive into the silence within, you enter a deep reservoir of wisdom, love, and power. Take time each day to go within. Meditate upon the silence, and you will drink the elixir of the gods. All great souls have cultivated this ability to hear the inner voice of silence. It is from here that all new thought, all music, vision, and creativity arise. Approach silence as you would approach a wise teacher with an open willingness to learn.
Right. Beautiful. And I know that You teach that yourself. I know that I teach it. It's something that I've been saying for years. You know, we all have our own way of saying exactly the same thing. But I love the way this lady put it. What did you say her name was again?
Anne Mortifee.
Anne Mortifee. Yeah, beautiful words, very poetic. And what I like about poetry, poetry seems to bypass the mind and go directly into the heart. Have you ever noticed that? When it's
I've
well written.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
It's a very complex form of communication,
right.
and I think also with poetry, it takes me a while to get to the meaning. I'll read it and ponder. I may read it again.
Right.
It's something that requires reflection.
Yeah. Well, and isn't that exactly what meditation is? You know, when you quiet the mind and just start being present to what is, all kinds of interesting stuff comes up and you may not understand it right away. You may not be able to figure out up here in your mind what it actually means. And here's something else that I have come to believe. Nothing has any meaning at all. Meaning is only what we attach to it in order to, to help ourselves navigate and make our way around the world and that kind of thing. But really, everything just is what it is.
Hmm.
And if we could accept it that way and begin to see it that way, our whole lives would change.
Indeed. Um, yes, we come in our birthday suit and we leave, and our spirit leaves. When we transition, we leave the body. And Anne Mortifee talks about that. A lot of people do. You do. Um, the spirit is immortal. It's magnificent. It's part of our Creator. And to let go is to be, in essence, the spirit.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Letting go is, yeah, and this is the thing, the ego doesn't want to let go. The ego is afraid. The ego says, if I let go, I die. If I let go, I cease to exist. And so that's why we are constantly in this I don't want to call it a battle, but it's certainly a challenge to just let go and be present. It takes a little bit of effort. And it takes you talked about going back and healing and talking to your child and all that kind of stuff. I think if I talk to my ego mind in the same way, like a frightened child, and just listen, my ego mind tends to go quiet on its own when I do that.
Well, I think that's when you transcend fear. Fear is the biggest rip away from our spiritual power. We
Right.
really need to be in love. The love vibration is where we
Exactly
need to
right.
be hanging out. And we need to find peace within. We need to find people who uplift us. We all know what it feels like with toxic people, and it's appropriate to limit that in a very kind and loving way, because spiritually, compassion for self is the wisdom that we need
Right.
to be compassionate for ourselves, because we can't give away what we don't have ourselves. And
Yeah.
so that means collaborating with uplifting people.
Right. And but you see, you just said something that I think is just beautiful. Um, Collaborating with uplifting people. In other words, choosing the people that we want to have surrounding us. And yet, no matter how much we do of that, we're still going to end up with somebody who triggers us.
Yes.
Some I don't like to use the phrase toxic people, because really all it is me having a reaction to something that they say or do or whatever. Even just the way they look at me sometimes is enough to trigger something. And when that happens, that's me. That's my reaction. It's my opportunity to look at something that maybe still needs a little healing, needs a little love, needs a little compassion. That doesn't mean my ego mind isn't going to react. That doesn't mean I'm not going to fall into old habits and maybe have a negative reaction with somebody. I'm still human after all. But I think having the awareness that that can happen gives you the space to be prepared for it and to say, right, there's my trigger again. Oh boy, here it goes.
An
Deep breath.
opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
So in these interactions that can be fleeting. Could be walking down the street, somebody bumps into me, or someone says something in passing. It's an opportunity for me to ask, what can I have a reaction, right? What
Right.
can I learn from this? And what does this say about me? Because it
Hmm.
allows me to take that journey inward to the
Right.
place of love within me where creator exists. Having said that, a lot of us believe that creator is in every electron of ourselves, and that's a lot of creator presence.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. And in every subparticle beneath the electron as well. Yeah. Yeah. It's really quite amazing when, and I love that you and I have the same kind of understanding of the universe and the world and stuff like that, because it really makes it much easier to communicate. Sometimes trying to communicate with someone who really doesn't get it, it really makes it difficult. I find it difficult anyway. And all I can really tell someone like that is, why don't you just go within quietly and just draw yourself into the deepest truth of who you really are and find out for yourself. You'll begin to understand that what I'm saying makes sense, and you might have different words to describe it.
We always have to allow someone else's journey to be
Yeah.
theirs. We're only responsible for our journey. And I heard something this past weekend that reaffirmed what I was thinking, and that is the ego will be with us until we leave. It's always
Exactly
part of
right.
the third dimension. We agreed to it. And everybody has issues. So I think of the bell curve, and I think that roughly 80 some odd percent of us are in it on any characteristic. Then you have the two tails when someone will have everything or very little of it. So we're in the boat together. We all deal with the ego.
Right.
But I say to myself and my clients, hang out in the fourth and fifth dimension. There's a lot of angst around, and when you start to dwell there, you're going to be really immersed in it. So jump in
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
to the fourth and fifth dimensions.
Yes. And why do there only have to be 4 or 5?
There are, I don't know,
Exactly.
infinite dimensions.
Yeah.
There's
I think so. Yeah.
a theoretical physicist. I think her name is Susan Randall. Randall is the last name. And she has a theoretical framework of a dimension in every pinpoint of space. Imagine dimension. Just
Right.
so we
Well, when
take
you
our,
think about space and the search for the ultimate, the God particle, or whatever they want to call it, or the finest, the ultimate, the smallest, I just laugh out loud, and I'm sure Creator does too, because sure, as soon as you find that, then you're going to develop instruments to be able to look at it, and then when you have those instruments develop, you'll realize there's something beneath that too. There's something even deeper. There is no limit to how deep you can go. There is no limit to how many times something can divide into a smaller piece. That's infinite.
it's so amazing.
Yeah.
When I think of the body as it's designed, it's so complex. And when I think about physics and all of the sciences and knowledge and consciousness, there's such simplicity and complexity
Right.
uh, abounding. When Creator designed us, Creator did just a beautiful job.
Oh, I think,
A plus
yeah, I
plus
think
plus
it's
plus.
absolutely, it's incredible. It's magnificent. It's hard to comprehend for sure. Certainly in my physical form, it's difficult for me to fully comprehend it. But when I do my meditating and I get into my deep space, the comprehension is no longer necessary because I'm one with it.
Yes, yes.
It's hard to describe that for somebody who's not done it. But that's how it feels for me.
Yes, I have had a meditation practice for many years now. And if my mind is very busy, I'll do mantra.
Hmm.
I'll just repeat, I am loved, I am Linda, because our name has a powerful energy.
Sure.
I am, and I am has an electromagnetic charge. Every time I say it, I could feel it. And I'll use mantra when I'm very, very busy. But meditation and being quiet is really the petri dish for creativity. And I wanted to say something about creativity. I think of it as leaving linearity to reach novel ideas, deep knowledge, skills to solve problems. And I think of creativity as using the imagination to move into our multidimensionality, where we can make connections and really solve some of the issues. It was Einstein who said that when we look at complex problems, we often cannot solve them in that same place or dimension. We need to look above it or beyond it to come to a solution. So creativity is a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful, because we're born creators. And talking about co-creation, we have the law of attraction. And it's a law. It doesn't have any judgment. When we want to manifest, we think it, feel it, we're it, with it, and we put it out there. And often it comes to us. But what I like about co-creation is that we're partnering with Source. And my script for myself when I'm co-creating is I speak directly to Creator. Thank you so much for X, whatever it is. Thank you so much. But I know that you have infinite knowledge and you know what is in my best interest. I surrender to that, to your will and to your knowledge. Please remember what I want. Thank you so much.
I like that. Please remember what I want. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So there was an example. Some years ago, I had 3 offices, 2 in Brooklyn and 1 in Manhattan. And the lease was going to be up for the person that was renting the space to me. So I did my script. I visited doormen in the Midtown Manhattan area, and nothing happened. And at that time, I had a tantrum with God. How could you not listen to me? I did everything that I knew I could. Oh.
Exactly.
And then I let it go. And a year and a half later, I get an email describing the perfect office. Midtown Manhattan, a beautiful townhouse created by a tile merchant from Italy. And the woman said, well, I'd like to rent it full time. I said, well, I only want it on a Wednesday. She said, I'll let you know. Anyway, it was mine for the Wednesday. And I realized that the person in that office had a lease for the year and a half that I had hoped that I could have it. And I had to learn patience and letting go. So there was Creator giving me what I wanted, but I needed to have patience and wait until it became available. It wasn't available until it was.
It's fascinating how that works sometimes, isn't it? How the lessons of life are just absolutely perfect. Whether they're pleasant or unpleasant, it really doesn't matter. When you stop fussing about it and just look at what it is, and you understand, when I understand what's really going on and I'm present to what is, then I can see the gift in pretty much everything.
Yes, there's a gift in everything.
Right.
When we clear the clouds away.
Yeah.
Get through the ego into what one of my teachers called it, ego, heart, love. To move in that loving way. What can love do here? How can I act in kindness? I read something this morning that reminded me that if we feel that we have an enemy, make them our friend. Make them our friend. It may have been Marianne Williamson. I think it was she. It's a beautiful thing because we're all connected. And if I hold something against someone, I'm really poisoning myself.
That's right. That's right. And that's one of the things that I teach in my program, my books and everything, is this idea of forgiveness. Forgiveness is never for the other person. The other person might benefit from it. That's all right. But I don't forgive you in order to make your life better. I forgive you to take myself off of that hook of resentment and expectation of judgment or of justice and so forth. That's why I forgive. And it doesn't change anything necessarily for you, but what it does is it relieves me. And you talked about poisoning ourselves. Well, that's exactly what happens. When I forgive, I release that cup of poison that I have been drinking in the hopes that you might die.
Forgiveness is a very important part of compassion.
Yeah.
In order to be compassionate, I have to really hang out in the fifth dimensional love vibration. And also assertion. I remember telling someone, one of my podcasts, uh, actually, I was a guest on someone's show, and I said, assertion is necessary for compassion. Really? She said. I said, well, with assertion, first of all, let me define it. I'm getting my needs met while respecting the rights of others. In assertion, I announce who I am. It's out there. Even if the person doesn't give me what I want, it's out there in the ether. I've announced something real about me. And there are times that I can give myself what I want. If, for example, I want to go out to dinner and there's nobody to join me, I can take myself out. If there's something I'm longing for, which is really a grist for the mill of healing, I can look within, because really, if I'm longing for something, I'm off balance.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to figure out what that is. I may be wishing that my parents are deceased, but people can still hang on to that wish. Oh, I wish that my mother was the type of mother I dreamed about, or that my father would approve of my career. Well,
Right.
that has me way off balance. And it's one of the tips in my book that we need to let go of those longings and those fantasies that don't serve us, because I need to approve of myself. I need to love myself in the fullest possible way. And then
Absolutely.
I clear those distractions and can enter a world that is a world of co-creation, a world that's sublime, be on that adventure on the spiritual path.
Absolutely correct. Well, I shouldn't say absolutely correct. What I really should say is I 100% agree with you. That is more accurate, because who knows? Maybe we're both wrong. I don't
Who
know.
knows? We can
I
only.
don't know, but I don't think so. But anyway, that's it's interesting. Yeah, yeah.
There's
So
so
this
much.
idea of creation now and co-creation, we've been kind of skirting the issue, bouncing around it, and I love the whole idea of this co-creation and how you basically pray to source to help you remember what you want. That was a great line. I really like that. So tell me more about this, and maybe you can offer some practices for some of us to learn from how you embrace this idea of co-creation, how you bring it into reality.
I'm thinking back to when I started co-creating, and it must be over 10 or 15 years ago. And then eventually, somehow, I realized that I would be actually partnering with Creator. That's what appealed to me. Because if I pray for something, I want somebody to get better. Well, maybe their journey is to go into transition and go home. I'm praying against God. So I always need to keep in mind what the divine plan is. And with co creation and clarity, there's the need for silence, which is, I think, a very challenging thing to achieve in today's world, with so much happening, with ambitious people like you and me. We're doing, doing, doing. And silence is where I can hear the voice of Creator.
Right.
And it takes me at times a while to get to that silence. For me, it's in the mornings. Often I get up very early. My eyes open up well, I have big, beautiful windows. I'm on the ninth floor. So the light comes in, there's nothing on the windows. So nowadays it's at 5 a.m. So at that time I can put on some uh, a blindfold to keep me sleeping a little bit. But I'm a morning person. That's my prime time to be creative. And
Mhm.
sometimes I'll sit and I'll think of inspiration by being quiet and listening for the voice of Creator. At times when I'm very busy, I might meditate for 20 minutes, 10, 15, 20 minutes, and get to a quiet place. Other times I might be, because I work from my apartment, I might jot something down and they go do something in the kitchen, come back, and it's a kind of a flow, a different kind of creativity.
Right.
And lately, I've been interested in a little bit, just a touch of self hypnosis, and I wanted to share with you and our listeners a 5 minute exercise. Now, this is a template because you wouldn't do it for just 5 minutes. You would set aside 10 or 15 minutes or work up to that because really you want to get to the silence because it's miraculous. So, are you interested in?
Sure. Let's do this.
Okay. So I ask you to sit very comfortably, David. I like everything to be uncrossed. And you can think about a project, or you could think about receiving an inspiration or something else, but be open to possibilities. So just
Okay.
take a couple of seconds to choose how you want to move into this very quiet space. Whether you're going to choose to think about a project you're working on, whether you are asking for an inspiration or something else. And when you're ready, you can close your eyes. And now pay attention to your unique rhythm of breathing and rhythmically breathe so that you feel very comfortable. Continue to breathe, focus, and relax deeply into your body. And follow the breath. Breathing, focusing, and relaxing deeply, deeply into your body. If any unwanted thoughts come in, just label them thinking and send them away without judgment or attachment. Come back to your center, your heart. Continue to breathe more and more deeply into your body. Rhythmically, a sense of calm and equanimity. Breathe and focus and relax ever so deeply into your body. Go deeper and deeper. As you breathe and focus and relax into it. Yes, use my voice as your guide as you move toward silence. go deeper and deeper as you breathe and focus and relax. Feelings of calm and peace, equanimity, as you reach a very, very quiet space. Now I'm going to count down from 5. And when I get to 1, I'm going to ask you in your mind or on a piece of paper to imagine or draw something about a project, an inspiration, or something else. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In a bit, I'm going to count to 3. And when I get to 3, I'm going to ask you to open your eyes. 1, become a little bit more alert. 2, a bit more alert than that. And 3, open your eyes when you're ready. Now, this can be used, thinking of ourselves as always in process and making progress, as something we use to get more able to get into the silence. If we don't wing it on the first time, just like at a gym, lots of repetitions are needed to build those biceps. This is something to be used for a longer period of time to get to the quiet, as meditation can take you there. It's just one little, it's a skill in your skill set.
No, it's great. Thank you. I had an image of a diamond showing up in my mind with little rays of light sticking out on the main corners. And I think it was spinning somehow. It was very strange, but anyway, that's what I saw.
It sounds very beautiful, David. What do you associate with diamonds?
Well, I mean, obviously, treasure, value, importance somehow. But that's and the rays imply some kind of connection. I think, even though they were what I was seeing in my mind, they were short, but they could be extending forever.
Yes.
So that was coming up for me.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
It brings to mind, my favorite scientist is Einstein.
No, I haven't heard you mention him before.
Are you joking?
Yes.
And his quote, imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the globe. And today I would say that imagination encircles the galaxies.
Of course, of course. Well, one of the things that I have learned in my conversations, now you call it source. I have my own name. I call it omnitude.
What do you call it?
Omnitude.
Ah.
And this channeled being it's like my channel to source. But one of the things that I've learned in communicating with omnitude is, first of all, everything is an element of all that is. There is nothing that is not all that is. And therefore, everything that you can imagine or that exists in your reality, whether you imagine it or not, is part of all that is.
Yes.
And so therefore, it's not possible to think of something that doesn't exist.
Yes.
And that took me a while to get my head around, you know? And so really, here's something that's really very, very clever if you think about it. Nothing is impossible. Not because everything is possible, but because nothing simply does not exist. Nothing is purely a concept. That's all it is. And a lot of people would say, "What the hell are you talking about? That makes no sense. It's just completely weird." And I'm thinking, "Yeah, I know it is. It's hard to explain."
It
You know?
is. It's almost paradoxical.
Yeah.
It's always hard to explain that. Um, Einstein, in his later years, and I think he must have done this somehow before his sailboat at Princeton, but he would get in his sailboat on the water and he would gaze at the sky. And I think he channeled his ideas
Right.
in those instances. And another wonderful physicist, Niels Bohr,
Right.
I read that he dreamed about the atom. So he woke up, remembered his dream, had the faith in himself to look at it, create words that would go along with it. And I happen to think that it's universe's way of moving us forward a notch.
Right.
Let's give Niels Bohr this image of the
Yeah.
atom, and
Right.
so
Well, he wasn't the only. I mean, I have heard many, many stories like that of different scientists who had different understandings. I don't remember who the scientist was who finally understood the benzene, the aromatic structure of benzene and other aromatic organic compounds. But he had a dream too, and in his dream he saw the Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail. And that when he saw that, he says, "Oh, that's how these carbon atoms they switch their bonds back and forth, and that's why we see it as anyway. People who don't know organic chemistry will have no idea what I'm talking about. But it was a fascinating story to find out that I can't remember who it was who did that. It was some famous scientist. It might have been Fermi or somebody like that.
Fermi, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah,
It's
I've heard
wonderful.
many, many stories. And what about Schrodinger and his cat? I mean, come on, really? He must have had a dream about that.
So we're really not alone. We're
No.
being helped all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a wonderful, faithful notion that I'm never alone. We're never alone. We're all connected. It's one of the tips in the A Train to Sedona, faith and knowledge that we're all connected.
Of course.
And I also think of us as, and I've written about this, broadcast journalists.
Yeah, I've heard you say that. Yeah.
Because we're always thinking, feeling, and acting. And that creates energy, which is broadcast, whether people pick it up consciously
Right.
or unconsciously. And it brings me to that quote from Buddha. And I always like to make sure I get it exactly right. What you think, you become. What you feel, you attract. What you imagine, you create. So the thing is, we don't want to be doing that unconsciously, because if I
Right.
do that unconsciously, I could be sending out patterns that are outdated, that are not representative of who I've become. We
That's
want to
exactly
clear
right.
that. We got to
Yep.
clear that detritus away and get to the clarity of the immense power that we have. Merlin says, use your wand to create your desires. Now, desires, I say constructive desires.
Sure.
And the wand would represent our feelings. Our feelings are very powerful. So when I get into a negative feeling, I remind myself, "Oh, Linda, you gotta shift that."
Right. Yeah.
Because we don't want to rumble through the world
Well,
with that
yeah, and
negativity.
and at the same time, this is something else that I've tried to train myself to do. So much of our language, especially ego mind based language, is oriented around these ideas of polar opposites. You got good, you bad, you got left, right, you got up, down, you got right and wrong. You've got all these things that we assign to our experiences based on what the ego mind says. And I try very hard now to shift away from that. So, for example, I caught myself when I said, "You're absolutely correct." Yeah. Well, maybe you are and maybe you're not.
Right.
But the truth is, I agree with you. And that is a more accurate statement, right? And you think about somebody who says, "Well, you're always doing this." Well, the truth is, no, you're not. You're not always doing this. None of us ever is always doing the same thing. So let's try and be honest with each other and say, "Well, right now I'm irritated because you're doing that." And that's the truth. That's the truth for me, you know? And
And
every
that's
time you do this, I get irritated. Well, is that true? Probably not. Because I don't always get irritated when you behave that way. I mean, we got to just wake up and stop falling into these old habits, you
yeah.
know? And
It takes
so
a lot of work.
that's right. And so the secret, I think, isn't so much saying making myself wrong because I have a behavior like that. That's never going to work. You cannot hate anything into healing ever. That simply can't happen. But you can love it into healing.
Yes.
And so this is why when I hear people say, well, you got to kill the ego mind. No, never. Why would I use violence on a
Mm-hmm.
part of myself that has been doing so much to try and help me in my life? It's absolutely wrong. I'm going to say that, even though what I really mean is I 100% disagree with that idea.
Well,
Anyway, do
sure.
you see where I'm coming from? Do you see where,
I am.
yeah. And I hope this makes sense for people who are watching this. Oh, and I haven't even been paying attention to the chat. Thank you, Wendy, for being here, and thank you for what you're saying in the chat. I really appreciate it.
Oh,
I'm sorry I haven't been paying attention. I've been so caught up in our conversation.
Wendy, thank you so much for listening and appreciating what we're saying. It's lovely to know that you're there.
Yeah. Well, she says, thank you both for an amazing session. Greatly appreciate it. Well, you're
Oh, Wendy,
welcome, and
thank you.
thank you for being here. Yeah, it's sometimes I get so caught up in the conversations and I forget to pay attention to the people who are here watching and listening. And so forgive me for that. I'll try to stay aware from now on.
I was in the same boat.
Yeah.
I saw that Wendy was there, but I didn't see that she was responding to us. And
Yeah.
I forgive us, with Wendy, and thank you again for your appreciating what we're talking about,
Yeah.
supporting us in that way.
So you talked a little bit about the idea of manifesting versus creating. Can you please help us understand the difference between those two? I think that's an important distinction. I want to make sure people get that clearly in their minds.
Some years ago, I manifested getting flowers. I was feeling lonely, and I said, thank you so. I don't think I said thank you at that point. I envisioned flowers, receiving them and liking them, and all that people talk about when they want to manifest, thinking, feeling, acting as though you have them. And a distant relative brought me some Gerber daisies. So manifestation is something, it's a law, it's given to us, we have that ability, and we can use it. We can use it willfully. It doesn't have a judgment, and if we use it correctly, it will be likely given to us. I don't want to make it an absolute because, as my dear friend Albert Einstein said, there are few absolutes.
There are
I
absolutely
think
no absolutes.
so. I could do anything, but I'm working from my limited mind in this lifetime to create something. So it occurred to me, wouldn't it be fulfilling to partner with who could have a greater partner than Source? Let me do
Exactly.
that,
Mhm.
and let me fit into the divine plan. So I'm working with a momentum that's so powerful. So in co-creating, I'm telling Creator what I want, but I'm also surrendering to the notion of the divine plan. That's very complicated. Things, T's need to be crossed and I's need to be dotted. And the computers that I understand, there are computers made of amino acids in the other realms. So all these things are happening, and beings have jobs and responsibilities, more than jobs, and they grow and they shift these jobs. So we want to work with that, because I don't want to work against Source. I don't want to do that. I want to, hey, I want that partnership. And I want to respect that and realize that magnificence and where I am. Yes, a fabric in that, a soul in that, what is it? Just an atom in that fabric of greatness, of immense, infinite knowledge and all that there is. So
Right.
I work to co-create as I walk around the house, my apartment. I surrender to your will. And I like to say, because I speak to the child within, please remember what I want.
Yeah.
I defer to you. You have my best interests at heart.
Right. Yeah, I really like that. I think that's a wonderful prayer. And I think you said something earlier about prayer that really touched me. And I think it's an important statement too. We have to be careful. I mean, when other people ask for our prayers, I think it's great that we offer them the support that they ask for. But sometimes we got to be careful that we're not asking for something that we want in place of what is best for them.
Right.
I think that's really important for people to understand. And I've shifted my way of praying now, and I invite Source to bring upon my children and the people in my life that I love whatever serves their greatest good and helps them to grow and heal and become the magnificent expressions that they were meant to be.
That's a beautiful prayer, David.
Yeah. And it took me a while to understand that. You know, I used to pray the way everybody does. Oh, Lordy, Lordy, give me a horsey. You know, that was the kind of things that we were taught when we were young kids. You know, pray to God and you'll get, and you'll receive. How many people got horses from that kind of prayer?
And people lose faith. They say, God
Exactly.
didn't listen to me.
Yeah.
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 And God
So,
always listens.
of course. Yeah. Yeah. You know, Linda, this has been absolutely fabulous. I know we're coming up to the top of the hour here now, and I want to give you, you know, a minute or so to just share any final words you might like to offer people as a kind of a final blessing about co-creation.
What I like to co create and what I say to myself and my clients and my friends, today's world is very troubled, and we need to understand that that's happening, acknowledge that that's happening, but we don't have to dwell there.
Right.
We can do what we do. If we want to resist, we could support groups, we could do what we do. But dwelling there does not help us or where we're going, which is to a very fine place. It is my belief that at some time, not in the too distant future, we will have peace and love on the planet. But this is a very painful time. It's sort of like, you know, we're stretching and we're enacting, and that's what's happening. So hang out in the fourth and fifth dimensions. After you do what you do, to acknowledge, maybe to talk a little bit if you feel that's helpful, but then shift your focus to what God has in store for you. Be multidimensional, exercise it, move into it, be it, feel it, and you're going to be much more accustomed to the adventure of where we are today. You will be truly co-creating peace and compassion on the planet.
Right. Beautiful. Thank you, Linda. That's very, very inspiring. I really appreciate it. And I'm just so delighted that we were able to share this space again today. Our conversations always enliven me and give me all kinds of inspiration. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, David, for inviting me.
Right.
And we are able to have quite a conversation, you and I.
Yeah, I like it. I love it. I would love more of these. So let's make it happen somehow. And
Absolutely.
for anybody who is here for the live presentation or watching the recording, I want to thank you so much for paying attention and listening to what we've had to say today. I hope that you'll find your way towards a powerful sense of connection to source, however that works for you, and that you are able to develop a practice of co-creation within that space. Remember that I have recordings of this and every other episode on my website at yourlifemasterycoach.com. So you can head over there and watch all those. And before I go, I just want to remind you about my own life mastery mantra. I want to share this with you because I share it on every episode. It's very simple, 3 short sentences that you can memorize and repeat anytime during your day or night, and preferably when you first wake up in the morning, and then maybe again in the evening before you go to bed. It's real simple. 3 sentences. It goes like this. I gratefully forgive the imperfect being I have been in the past. I gratefully accept the magnificent being I am right now. I gratefully welcome the evolved being I am becoming in each new moment. So thank you again for being here. I wish you love, light, and blessings on your continuing journey. And I'll see you next time right here on MagnifEssence in Motion. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.